The Detroit Lions walked into Indianapolis carrying more questions about their offensive line than they've had in years, and by the time the 2026 NFL Combine wrapped up, it was clear that this offseason is going to be defined in the trenches. For a team that prides itself on physicality, tone-setting offense, and the identity built under head coach Dan Campbell, the regression of the line in 2025 wasn't just a weakness. It was a warning. The retirement of Frank Ragnow and the departure of Kevin Zeitler stripped away not only production, but leadership and cohesion. The Lions felt that loss immediately. Protection issues crept in. The run game wasn't as efficient in short yardage. Communication along the interior faltered at key moments. And for a franchise trying to keep its Super Bowl window wide open, that's unacceptable. That's why the center group at the Combine mattered so much to Detroit. Even with veterans available in free agency, this front office has consistently shown it prefers to build long-term solutions through the draft. The Lions don't just want a bandage. They want the next foundational piece. Sam Hecht out of Kansas State may not have entered the week as a household name, but he forced scouts to take notice. His 1.73 10-yard split showed explosive acceleration off the snap, and that's critical in Detroit's scheme, where reach blocks and quick climbs to the second level are staples. He moved with a fluid base in drills, showing balance and core power. The arm length will spark projection debates, but when you watch how he anchors and how naturally he redirects in space, you see a player who understands leverage. For a team looking to rediscover interior nastiness, Hecht fits the personality. Then there's Parker Brailsford from Alabama. If you're searching for the most natural mover in the center class, it might be him. His testing numbers validated what shows up on film: elite short area burst and effortless change of direction. Detroit asks its center to operate in space frequently, particularly in screen concepts and outside zone. Brailsford's ability to mirror and recover would allow the offense to keep its playbook fully intact. He may be lighter than ideal, but the Lions have never shied away from athleticism if the temperament matches. Jaeger Burton offered something slightly different: experience and versatility. 47 collegiate starts across multiple positions isn't just a stat, it's security. In a season where injuries along the line expose depth issues, Burton's profile becomes attractive. His 9.93 RAS score turned heads, and while he had minor hiccups in drills, he settled in and flashed heavy, authoritative hands. That's Detroit football. That's finishing blocks through the echo of the whistle. Logan Jones out of Iowa might quietly be one of the most Lions-coded prospects in the group. He's technically refined, fundamentally disciplined, and plays with a stable base in pass protection. His arm length is a red flag on paper, but his footwork compensates. Iowa linemen traditionally transition well because of coaching and pro-style responsibilities. If Detroit values floor and coachability, Jones belongs squarely in the conversation. And then there's Trey Zunn, the converted tackle from Texas A&M. At 6'6" and over 300 pounds, he resembles the body type Detroit trusted for years in the middle with Ragnow. His first-step quickness backward in pass sets stood out immediately. Transitioning from tackle to center isn't simple, but the movement traits translate. If the Lions are thinking creatively, if they want size, power, and developmental upside, Zunn offers intrigue. But the center class was only half the story in Indianapolis. The tackle and guard groups may ultimately shape Detroit's entire draft strategy. Because while Taylor Decker announced he's returning for 2026, the long-term math hasn't changed. Taylor Decker is back. That stabilizes the present. It does not solve the future. Campbell was candid at the Combine. They will need someone capable of playing left tackle, whether in a pinch or as a successor. That's not subtle messaging. That's a flashing sign to the scouting department. Spencer Fano from Utah might be the cleanest fit if Detroit wants immediate depth with future upside. His kick slide is textbook. His lateral agility is elite. And most importantly, he looked comfortable flipping sides and even taking center reps. That kind of versatility aligns perfectly with how the Lions cross-train linemen. If he's on the board at 17, the conversation will be real. Monroe Freeling from Georgia put on one of the most impressive athletic displays of any lineman at the Combine. His 9.99 RAS score is rare air. At nearly 6'8", he bends naturally and anchors with balance. Yes, he occasionally overextends his base, but those are coachable refinements. The tools are premium. If Detroit wants a high-ceiling tackle to groom behind Decker, Freeling checks the boxes. Caden Proctor may be the most fascinating projection of all. Once over 400 pounds, now trimmed to 352, he's an enormous athlete with shocking explosiveness. Analysts even compared his size-speed combination to Penei Sewell. That comparison isn't about skill level, it's about physical profile. Proctor's anchor strength could immediately impact short yardage efficiency. The Lions love power. They love tone setters. He embodies that mold. Caleb Lamu and Blake Miller both showcased polished movement skills and balanced pass sets. Miller, in particular, flashed veteran timing in his strikes after 54 collegiate starts. For a team seeking reliability in its OT3 role, that experience matters. Inside at guard, Vega Ione may have solidified himself as one of the top interior prospects in the entire draft. Controlled, explosive, technically refined. He looked like a plug-and-play starter. If Detroit decides to shift pieces around, perhaps sliding Tate Ratledge to center, Ione could immediately anchor left guard. Chase Bisonez and Emmanuel Pregnan each bring different stylistic fits, zone versus gap, but both displayed the explosiveness and hand strength to compete early. And Kalen Rutledge might have been the most physically imposing puller in the entire group. Detroit's run game thrives when guards move bodies in space. Rutledge did that repeatedly. So where does all of this leave the Lions strategically? Taylor Decker's return provides flexibility. It does not eliminate urgency. The Lions no longer have to force a tackle pick, but they absolutely must think about life beyond 2026. The mistake organizations make is waiting 1 year too long. The Ragnow situation showed how quickly depth evaporates when contingency plans aren't ready. If there's a run on tackles early, Detroit can pivot to defensive line or secondary. But if a premium prospect slides, they now have the luxury to take the best value rather than drafting out of desperation. And then, just as the focus seemed entirely locked onto the offensive line, the franchise made a move that reshaped the conversation entirely. The Lions traded David Montgomery to the Houston Texans. That's not just a roster move. That's emotional. Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs were Sonic and Knuckles, thunder and lightning, physicality and explosion. In 2023 and 2024, they formed one of the most balanced backfields in football. Montgomery's 25 rushing touchdowns across 2 seasons weren't empty numbers. They were identity markers. But 2025 changed the dynamic. Gibbs ascended into a true focal point. Montgomery's usage dipped. And behind the scenes, it became clear that alignment between player and organization was drifting. General Manager Brad Holmes hinted at it. A player has to want to be there. That's telling. In return, Detroit secured a 2026 fourth-round pick, a 2027 seventh-rounder, and interior lineman Juice Scruggs. From a value standpoint, that's exceptional for a 29-year-old running back with escalating cap numbers. But roster impact is different from value efficiency. The Lions are thinner at running back today than they were yesterday. Period. Yes, Gibbs is dynamic. Yes, the draft offers mid-round contributors annually. But Montgomery's reliability in short yardage and pass protection will not be easily replaced. The emotional leadership he provided in the locker room also carries weight. Scruggs, however, cannot be overlooked. He started at center in both guard spots for Houston. He brings experience. He brings competition. And he costs just $1.58 million in the final year of his rookie deal. For a team rebuilding interior stability, that depth is meaningful. This is the cost of contention. When you pay young stars, you can't carry premium money at aging positions. Tough decisions follow success. Now here's the real question for you. If you believe this team is still on a Super Bowl trajectory, if you trust Holmes and Campbell to navigate this transition in the trenches and in the backfield, then this is the moment to commit as a fan. Hit that subscribe button right now and stay locked in, because this offseason is shaping the next era of Lions football, and you don't want to miss a single development. The Lions are betting on youth, athleticism, and financial flexibility. They're betting that offensive line reinforcements will restore offensive dominance. They're betting that Gibbs can handle a larger workload while a cheaper RB2 emerges. They're betting that planning ahead at tackle prevents another crisis. Every move connects. Drafting a tackle early strengthens depth behind Decker and protects against injury. Selecting a center prospect ensures communication stability. Adding Scruggs creates interior competition. Moving Montgomery reallocates resources towards sustainable roster building. This is calculated aggression. It won't feel comfortable. Losing respected veterans never does. But remember when Detroit let Jamal Williams walk? The offense didn't collapse. It evolved. Holmes understands positional value. He understands timing. And perhaps most importantly, he understands that windows close quickly if you cling too tightly to sentiment. The 2026 season will hinge on whether these trench investments pay off. If the Lions rediscover dominance up front, everything else flows. Play action regains potency. Gibbs finds cleaner lanes. Jared Goff operates from secure pockets. Defensive additions won't be forced to compensate for offensive inefficiencies. This offseason is not about one trade or one draft pick. It's about structural reinforcement. And as we sit here in March, watching prospects test in Indianapolis and veterans change teams, one thing is clear. The Detroit Lions are not standing still. They're recalibrating. They're anticipating. They're preparing for life after Decker, life after Ragnow, and now life after Montgomery. The question isn't whether change is happening. The question is whether these changes will elevate Detroit from contender to champion. If you believe this front office deserves the benefit of the doubt, if you believe the Lions are building something sustainable and not just chasing a fleeting window, then make sure you're part of this community. Subscribe now, turn on notifications, and let's ride through this offseason together.